Michael Church, Crawl Space Ninja. Today we got a great Ask a Ninja from one of our blogs on our crawlspaceninja.com website, and they wanted to know, is having humidity at 70 to 80% in the crawl space in the summer only okay? Stay tuned. So if you're new to Crawl Space Ninja, we talk about everything related to humidity control, crawl space encapsulation, indoor air quality. We hope you'll subscribe to our channel, ring that notifications bell. Make sure you follow us on Facebook, check out our DIY store and our franchise opportunities. So we did a blog a few years ago, I believe it was. It was one of the misconception series about seal all vents of the encapsulated crawl space. So in other words, should you seal all the vents of the crawl space versus leaving one of them ventilated whenever you're controlling humidity? And Scott wrote on the blog, "Hi Michael, I live in Western North Carolina and I have a professionally sealed crawl space, fully encapsulated, all the pillars, walls, everything. Fully encapsulated with a Santa Fe Compact 70 dehumidifier, which should completely handle the crawl space size. Also, a radon system was installed to mitigate radon buildup, and the vents were sealed with foam board. I recently installed a sensor push humidity detector. I assume that's a brand of humidity detector. And most of the year, humidity is down to 50 or 60%. However, in the summer, depending on the day, I see humidity levels of 70 or even 80%. The wood joists look great, like they were just installed and the house was built in 1988. Is there anything else I should do to get the humidity down, or is it acceptable under the current conditions?" Well, just so you know, Scott, we talk about humidity control in the crawl space all year should be roughly between 45% and 55%. Now, I believe the Santa Fe works on relative humidity, where perhaps the Aprilaire also considers dew point whenever it's controlling the moisture level of the air in the crawl space. So what you want to make sure is that, number one, is the dehumidifier putting out dry air? The Santa Fe has a filter that all the air goes through, and just behind that filter are the coils of the dehumidifier, and normally the moisture is removed at that part, and then the dry air is pushed out the other side of the dehumidifier. So what you can do is take that moisture reader, that humidity reader that you have, and put it in front of that warmer dry air. It should be pretty warm as well as the dehumidifier pushes it out. Put that humidity reader right there, and if the humidity is between 35 and 45% coming out directly out of the dehumidifier, then that's problem number one, is the dehumidifier is working correctly. Okay, so that's the first thing you need to make sure of, is that dehumidifier working correctly? If it's not working correctly, some things you can do is check to make sure that the condensation is rolling out of the dehumidifier properly. It's not backing up into the condensation. A lot of dehumidifiers build up zuglia. It's kind of a slimy bacteria that gets built up inside of their discharge lines, and those need to be cleaned out. We've done a few maintenance videos on how to do that. The other thing is make sure that that pre-filter that's before the coils isn't really dirty. I believe they use a reusable washable filter, so you can take it outside and bang all the dust off of it, or perhaps if it's real bad, blow it out with air or water or something like that to get it clean. That's step number one. Make sure that dehumidifier is working properly. Something else I want you to do is you can get a smoke pen. Now, these are available on Amazon.com or different places like that, but smoke pens are actually used in radon mitigation. So it's a pretty cool little device. It's got a wick on it, you light it, and it just releases smoke. And I want you to go around the crawl space and check the seams of the vapor barrier where they put tape. Anywhere there's tape inside that crawl space, I want you to kind of drag that smoke pen along. It shouldn't burn anything, but keep an eye on it because it is a lit wick. But just make sure that there's not air moving from the plastic into underneath the plastic. So in other words, that radon mitigation system, the plastic should be sealed really well. Also check up the wall where the plastic is sealed to the wall and run that smoke pen. And if you see a lot of humidity or a lot of air moving, that smoke is moving behind the plastic, you may want to get that company back out to reseal those joints, okay? Polyurethane is what they recommend to reseal those joints. And of course, you can put a vapor barrier crawl space seam tape over that. But you can't use a seam tape on the wall because it'll unstick eventually. So they recommend using a polyurethane caulk on the walls and everything. So check to make sure that radon mitigation system is not drawing air into itself from the plastic, because if it is drawing air in underneath, there's some sections of the plastic where that humidity could be escaping from under the plastic and making its way into the crawl space, which could also be affecting the humidity if the dehumidifier is working correctly. And what you don't want is humidity escaping from underneath the plastic into the crawl space and the dehumidifier not working correctly. One last thing I would encourage you to do is check around the door. A lot of crawl space encapsulation companies overlook air sealing the door itself. That's a huge area for outside humidity to be rushing into the crawl space, especially if your dehumidifier is really close to the door. It could be giving it a false signal that there's a lot of humidity because you do have a radon mitigation system that could possibly be drawing a lot of air into the crawl space or from the crawl space, which puts it under negative pressure. So whenever you have something like that installed, the air is being taken out of the crawl space, so all of the outside air wants to rush in. So if there's leaks in that vapor barrier, like I mentioned before, and that door isn't sealed, then you're gonna have a lot of outside humidity rushing into that crawl space as that radon mitigation system is removing that radon from underneath the vapor barrier. So those are 3 tips I'd recommend you do. I appreciate you writing into us and letting us know what's going on. And please, if you don't mind, let us know if any of that advice helped you. I'm Michael Church, Crawl Space Ninja. We hope you make it a happy and blessed day, and we'll see you later.